Shalom and welcome to Hebrew Bible Secrets with your host, Rabbi Jeremy Beaton. We are starting today at, reading from the book of Mathew, chapter 20. So, book of Mathew, chapter 20, verse 1. 1. For the kingdom of Shamayim is like to a man that is a householder, which went out early in the morning to hire labourers into his vineyard. 2. And when he had agreed with the labourers for a darius a day, he sent them into his vineyard. 3. And he went out about the third hour, and saw others standing idle in the marketplace. 4. And said to them, Go you also into the vineyard, and whatever is right I will give you. And they went their way. 5. Again he went out about the 6th and 9th hour, and did likewise. 6. And about the 11th hour he went out, and found others standing idle, and said to them, Why do you stand here idle all day? 7. And they said to him, Because no man has hired us. He said to them, Go also into the vineyard, and whatever is right, that shall you receive. 8. So when the evening came, the master of the vineyard said to his steward, Call the labourers, and give them their hire, beginning from the last to the first. 9. And when they came that were hired about the 11th hour, they received every man a darius. 10. But when the first came, they supposed that they should have received more, and they likewise received every man a darius. 11. And when they had received it, they murmured against the landowner. 12. Saying, These last have worked 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us, who have bore the hardship and the heat of the day. 13. But he answered one of them and said, Friend, I did you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for a darius? 14. Take what is yours and go your way. I will give to this last even as to you. 15. Is it not permitted according to Torah for me to do what I will with my own? Is your eye evil because I am good? 16. So the last shall be first, and the first last. 17. And Yeshua, going up to Jerusalem, took the 12 disciples aside privately in the way, and said to them, 18. Behold, we go up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man shall be betrayed to the chief Kohanim, and to the experts of the Torah, and they shall condemn him to death. 19. And shall hand him over to the Gentiles, to mock and to scourge, and to impale him, and the third day he shall rise again. 20. Then came to him the mother of Zabdi's children, with her sons, bowing before him, and making a request to him. 21. And he said to her, What do you want? She said to him, Grant that these, my 2 sons, may sit, the one on the right hand, and the other on the left, in your kingdom. 22. And Yeshua answered and said, You do know what you ask. Are you able to drink of the cup that I shall drink of, and to be immersed with the immersion that I am immersed with? They say to him, We are able. 23. And he said to them, You shall drink indeed of my cup, and be immersed with the immersion that I am immersed with. But to sit on my right hand and on my left is not mine to give, but it shall be given to them for whom it is prepared by my Av, my Father. 24. And when the 10 heard it, they were moved with anger against the 2 brothers. 25. But Yeshua called them to him and said, You know that the rulers of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and they that are great exercise authority upon them. 26. But it shall not be so among you. But whosoever will be great among you, let him be your servant. 27. And whosoever will be first among you, let him be your servant. 28. Even as the Son of Man came not to be served upon, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many. 29. And as they departed from Jericho, a great multitude followed him. 30. And behold, 2 blind men sitting by the wayside, when they heard that Yahushua passed by, cried out, saying, Have loving kindness upon us, Rabbi, you, son of David. 31. And the multitude rebuked them, because they should hold their shalom. But they cried even more, saying, Have loving kindness upon us. Have loving kindness on us, Rabbi, you, son of David. 32. And Yahushua stood still, and called them, and said, What do you want me to do for you? 33. And they say to him, Rabbi, that our eyes may be opened. 34. So Yahushua had compassion on them, and touched their eyes, and immediately their eyes received sight, and they followed him. So that brings us to the end of chapter 20. So if we go back and have a look at some of the footnotes. So the first footnote we have is in verse 1. For the kingdom of Shamayim is like to a man that is a householder. So let's have a look at this quickly. So this is Yahweh. So Yahweh's name is here. So the kingdom of Shamayim is like to a man that is a householder. So we're talking about the Father here. Okay? So Yahweh's house is the kingdom. Yeah? Or the house is like to the kingdom. Okay, so let's have a look at the next footnote. Which went out early in the morning to hire labourers into his vineyard. So he went out early, so looking for hire labourers. So the labourers, the reference here is Israel. So we're talking about the 12 tribes. Yeah? And so let's go to the next footnote, which is verse 2. And when he had agreed with the labourers, so we have a footnote for labourers again. So this is the 12 tribes. So the labourers of the 12 tribes. And for a Darius a day, he sent them into his vineyard. Okay, the next footnote is in verse 3. And he went out about the 3rd hour. So let's have a look at this 3rd hour. So the 3rd hour is pointing us to Mark 15:25. So let's have a look at that quickly. Okay, Mark 15:25. And it was the 3rd watch, and they impaled him. So we have a footnote here for the 3rd watch. So 3 p.m. period. Mark is not defining an exact time when the impalement took place, but people have assumed this incorrectly. The Hebrew time was defined in 3 hourly watches of 4 segments in a 12-hour cycle. This is in complete harmony with John 19:12, where he also mentions Yahushua being ready but not impaled. till after 12 p.m. noon. Mark therefore by saying the third watch is giving us a time frame of when he was hung on the tree. Note, both Mark and John were Hebrew writing for the Hebrew people and for Israel, and not for the Romans, who were their enemies. The Gentiles have to come into Israel to receive their instructions and understanding. The Hebrew people divided the full 24 hours day from sunrise to sunrise into 2 slots of about 12 hours each. This was then further divided into 4 watches, each of 3-hour segments. Therefore, both John and Mark are in agreement when one understands this fact. There were no time clocks or watches as today, but the time was measured by sundials around the 1st century in Israel. So we get an approximation of time. See Exodus 14:24 and Judges 7:19, 2 Samuel's 13:34 and 2 Kings 11:5 for further studies. Third hour or third watch of the day is 12 p.m. onwards to approximately 3 p.m. 6th hour or third watch, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Mark new watches. Check Mark 6:48. Whoever translated this gospel from Matthew confused the term into hours, while Mark never described an exact hour. The 9th hour or 4th hour watch is 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Okay, so that gives you an understanding of Mark 15:25. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 9. And when they came that were hired about the 11th hour, they received every man a darius. So let's have a look at this. So a darius is a day's wage. Okay, so the next footnote we have here is in verse 12, saying, these last have worked 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us, who have bore the hardship and heat of the day. Okay, let's have a look at this heat of the day. This points to Judah, who were always with Abba Yahweh, while the others are the 10 tribes, but they get the same reward. Okay? So even though Judah has always been with the Father, those who return back to the commandments now of the 12 tribes will also get the same reward. Okay? So the next footnote we have is in verse 15. Is it not permitted, according to Torah, for me to do what I will with my own? Is your eye evil because I am good? Okay, let's have a look at this. Is your eye evil? So, is your eye evil means stingy with money. Okay, the evil eye, stingy with money. Okay, let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 16. So the last shall be first, and the first last. So we have here, for many are called, but only few chosen, is not found in the early manuscripts or in the Aramaic ones. Okay? So the next footnote after that is verse 19. I shall hand him over to the Gentiles to mock and to scourge and to impale him, and the third day he shall rise again. So he informed his disciples about his death. So the next footnote we have after that is in verse 30. And behold, 2 blind men sitting by the wayside. So we have 2 blind men here. Let's have a look at this quickly. This is a picture of the two houses of Israel sitting in blindness. Yahushua is giving them both sight, Torah. Note, he does not reject either or say, no, Christians first, please, then Judah. But Judah is actually first in Israel, physically, as they are the lawgiver, established by the set-apart one, who is Yahweh. Okay, that now brings us to the end of chapter 20. And I thank you for watching and hope to see you on the other side. This is Rabbi Jeremy Beaton saying thank you for watching and shalom, shalom.